Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Chicago Blackhawks franchise mode here in NHL 23. So in last episode, we had the draft, which was arguably, I'd say, our best draft ever. We picked up some really good players in that draft, which they're all currently unsigned at the moment, but we will be signing at least one of them in this episode. But as you can see here, we had 3 first-round picks because I moved up quite a bit, getting rid of our second rounders that we had. We ended up drafting Jamie Corrado with our own pick at number 20. We also drafted this Rodney Patterson guy at number 26. Looks like he's going to be a pretty solid player. And then we also drafted Vaclav Ziska, who is a two-way forward. So I'm hoping for, like, in the future, at least for these three guys to be all on one line, because it would just be really, really cool from them all to come from one draft class and then play on the same line together and hopefully, like, stay with us all the way till their end of their careers. I don't know if they all will, but I really hope that is the case just because they all are identical overalls and all that type of thing. So there is that. We also did draft this Gustav Kabanov guy in the 4th round, which was a huge steal. As you can see, 69 overall elite. I'm more than likely going to give him a contract so he can play in the AHL already. And then I'm also probably going to be giving Ziska a contract so he can play in the AHL already, because basically Patterson and Corrado aren't AHL eligible yet, so I might have to hold out on them for like at least one more season, and then hopefully they could maybe jump to the NHL right away depending on if they get a good amount of growth and that type of thing. But yeah, it was a pretty good draft, and we also had a little bit of an interesting re-sign stage. I decided to let go of quite a bit of players, including both of our goaltenders. So Comezo is gone; he's not going to be coming back. I also let go of Tristan Jarry, but I might bring him back because we do need ourselves another goaltender. And yeah, then we also let go of, I think it was like Lucas Reichel and a lot of the guys that were kind of on the bottom 6, because the bottom 6 for me, I think, has been kind of problematic. Like the top 6 always does really well in the playoffs and stuff like that usually. Like you could see Nazar was point per game when we were in the playoffs. But then it comes to the bottom 6, and like the depth scoring is never there in the postseason. Also, the defensive play is not that great either. So I think our bottom 6 just needs to be kind of reworked a bit this offseason, and hopefully that is enough to turn this team around a little bit. Like, it's not very important for our team to win as soon as possible, I think, but I think it is possible for us. Like, we need to make the playoffs at least in these few seasons coming up, but we don't need to necessarily win a Stanley Cup just yet. But I really would like to get a Stanley Cup as soon as possible. That way, Asher Vance kind of wants to stay with this team, because I know his contract ends in like 6 years, but you know the guy could honestly just want to like tons of money and keep rejecting all our offers and that type of thing. Like, who knows what the case is going to be once his contract is up. So anyways, that is that. Let's get into a couple comments before we get into some free agent signings. So the first one is from Hockey Guy 88. He says, I think you should definitely try to get Sanderson. Also, with your unsigned prospects, I think you should sign Ziska in Niittymaki. I would also give Corrado and Patterson each one more year in the CHL. So yeah, Corrado and Patterson are definitely going to get one more year in the CHL, and he does want us to sign Niittymaki and Ziska. Niittymaki was our high-up pick last year's draft, and he is looking like he's going to be still pretty solid of a defenseman. He didn't really get a whole lot of like growth, really, but he is only 18 years old, because when we drafted him, he was like 17, and yeah, he's got really good attributes to be a successful defender at the AHL level, I think, so we are going to give him his ELC, and he will be already playing in Rockford this season. So there's that. Also, we will give Ziska his contract since he's actually AHL eligible. He also looks like he's going to be a pretty solid player for us, like two-way wise. He could be on like a penalty kill line after like Pedersen and stuff like that, for example. Like, we're drafting a lot of really solid defensive players, but some of them are kind of underperforming. But I really hope that Ziska becomes that type of guy we need. So let's sign Ziska to his ELC as well. And then we're also going to give Kabanov his ELC, just because I think Kabanov, since he's a low elite 69 at 19, he's definitely primed to maybe be one of those guys that jump up to like a 78 after one season. I would like to give this guy like top line time in the AHL if possible as well. So yeah, let's give him his ELC as well. And then everybody else here is going to wait for a while. Pekka Slotty is actually going pretty well. This guy was, I think, yeah, 7th rounder. But I am not going to be giving him his contract yet. I probably will wait till next offseason, but likely this guy will get a contract and play in our AHL team at some point, since he's actually getting some pretty solid growth for a low elite. So there is that. Also, Hawksfan was saying about maybe signing Jake Sanderson. Now, as much as I like Jake Sanderson in real life, I do not think he is not. I don't think he's what we need, really. He's an 87 overall, I believe, and he was like kind of like wanting like 9 million bucks. You can see our defensive core at the moment. Obviously, we still have Makar and Brunstrom, but then basically, if we were to bring in somebody like Jake Sanderson, it would demote somebody like Chernak to the top six, and then who is unsigned right now in Datsuk, who is currently an RFA holding out for more money. He would probably be like a depth defender, or Len Morris would be a depth defender, and I really don't want that to be the case with this team. So, and like it's kind of pointless when we have guys like, say, Lowry, who is developing quite well and could be an NHL defender as early as not this coming season probably, but like next season. So I think that I am not going to bring in Sanderson just because like the amount of defensive prospects we have as well. I'd rather grow from within than via free agency in terms of defensive signings. So I do not think we are going to be going after Jake Sanderson because we have other areas that we definitely need to address, like our starting goaltender, for example. And then probably there is going to be some forwards that we end up signing as well. And then the last and final comment is from Yanni Pekasvinius. It's kind of a lengthy comment, so grab onto your seats for a bit. But he first says, it's pretty obvious that Comesso didn't pan out with the overall quality of this team. He hasn't had any seasons even near 2.5 goals against average. Time to move on. I honestly think that inconsistency has cost the team, especially in the postseason. Goalie-wise, I would promote Pitton to be backup for Jari. Some growth in 15 to 20 games would show if he's up for the big league. No reason to throw away $3 to $4 million for a backup. Jari to get the, if you're trusting FX, Jari to get the job done. I don't really know what he means by FX, but yeah, I do agree with what you're saying about Comesso for sure. He didn't really live up to the hype, and definitely he's not going to be coming back because that could have honestly cost us in the long run is having Comesso on the team. So we'll see what Pitton's able to do as our backup goalie for the season. And more than likely, since you're saying to bring back Jari, we will bring back Jari as our starting goaltender for this season. At least just give him a 1-year deal. Since no teams are interested in him currently, even though there should be a lot of teams interested in him, because when I was looking before I recorded this, there is a ton of teams that need goaltending like really badly. Like our goaltending core right now even looks better than a lot of other teams. So we'll see what happens if we're able to get Jari in free agency. Yanni Peck also says, I do like the depth, but in my opinion, you need some grit and ugliness in this roster. Maybe throwing it all in and making a lockdown line for the third or fourth two-way forward / grinder two-way forward has worked wonders for me, at least when calendar's simming. You're right that your depth forwards are not scoring, but they're not that good at defensive side either. That PK could also be a bit better. So that also I agree with. I think we definitely need to get ourselves like kind of like a line that's kind of more focused on playing defense and also kind of more grindy, because at the moment our top six is definitely very offensively minded. Now Pettersson's kind of like a mix between the two, but he's had like some really bad defensive seasons as well. But we definitely could rework the bottom six a bit, since we did let go of quite a bit of guys in last episode. Like I might honestly try playing like Little, for example, since he's a sniper on the third line, even though he's not really a third line type of player. And then we could try and sign some grit and like defensive players for the fourth line, so that way we kind of be a little bit better of a defensive team, because having a sniper on the fourth line isn't always a great scenario, because they always are not that great defensively usually. And they're more of like an offensive player, that type of thing. So, and then the final three parts of this long comment from Yanni Pekka says, top six is awesome at the moment. If you have to change some spots regarding chemistry, they'll do fine. I really like the Vance Nazar duet. Should be pretty explosive. Maybe a power forward to complement them on the first line, he's asking. And I don't really think we need a power forward, because we did have that experiment with Quinton Byfield and it didn't really work out that well. Maybe Byfield wasn't really that good at shooting, and that was the main reason why. So a sniper, or not a sniper, a power forward that actually could shoot the puck maybe would be better. But I don't think we're going to bring in a power forward for that top line, just because I don't think it's something we necessarily need. I think our bottom six is where we kind of need to rework, especially. He also says, I'd sign those 77 rookies for the AHL as long as the coaching is good at teaching. Otherwise, just leave them where they are now. And he says, let's go and get to the finals this season. Loving this series. Thank you for that, man. And based on those rookies, we already signed a couple of them. I am not going to be signing the others just because they wouldn't be able to play in the AHL anyways. But I didn't actually take a look if our coaching staff down there has good teaching. Oh yeah, we did lose our AHL head coach in last episode. That's right. That's something else I should probably, I guess, look for in this episode. So Hopefully this episode's not too long, but yeah, let's get into our signings first, and then we'll try and assign ourselves a nice AHL head coach that is good at teaching, so that way we could get some pretty good growth down there in the minors. So we don't really have a whole lot of cap space to work with. We have 18 million, but like probably a couple million of that is going to be going to Datsuk, so we probably still have like I'd say like 16 million, which is not too bad. We are going to be going back after Jari. Kameso actually wants more money than Jari, which is funny. Probably because he's younger. But yeah, Jari's going to come back on a one-year deal, and we'll bump this up to $6 million just to make sure he actually accepts. Just because I don't want to end up losing out on a chance in getting him. So there is Jari. There's definitely some other goalie options out there as well that we could have brought in, like Sorokin, but yeah, if Jari doesn't accept this, obviously we could go after a different goaltender too. It doesn't have to always be Jari to bring back, but I am excited to see what Pitton could do this season as a 78 backup. So there is still some other things we need to sign. So we need to sign ourselves. I wrote down a depth defenseman. So let's grab ourselves a depth defender. We need to go after quite a few things. And then we also need to grab ourselves a like kind of a reworked fourth line, like Yanni Pekka was saying. And then that's pretty much all we need, really, I think. And then maybe actually one more depth forward, too, just to play it safe. So that way, in case we run into any injury troubles, which hopefully we don't this year. But I am very excited to see what Vance does as usual. Because Vance, like, he's coming off back-to-back 50-goal seasons. So, like, does he top 50 goals this year? Or does he kind of, like, cap out as a 50-goal scorer? Like, it'd be neat to see him score, like, 60 at some time. So... okay, let's see. So depth defensively, I think I would prefer like a defensive defenseman, but I want somebody with actually good defensive stats, which is sometimes tough to find in terms of the depth defenseman categories, but you never know. If I sort this by like defense, so let's see what we got for like lower overall rated players. Maybe this will help us out, narrow it down. Let's go down here and see if we can find a depth defender. Okay, Nugent Hopkins, is he an RFA though? No, he's a UFA. Okay, perfect. So this guy is a young kid, 24 years old, but he's got good defensive awareness. Former second rounder of the Montreal Canadiens. He's listed as a depth defender. Why not? Why not? Why not use him as a depth defender until we get somebody like Lowry into the lineup? And then this guy could also be trade bait, so 1 year and then he'd still have RFA status. And let's go with a 2-year deal. I think that's actually not bad. It's cheap, and yeah, we could always trade him away on that last year of his deal if a guy in the system comes up higher than he is. Like, I think Lowry will probably be an 80 or so by like next season. So yeah, then he'd probably knock out Nugent Hopkins and that type of thing. But I think that's a good signing right there. So at least we found a young kid with some good defensive awareness to kind of help us out if we have any injury troubles. So that is one depth defender. Then we need a reworked third line, which I wrote down a couple players I was looking at, or at least one player I was looking at for the fourth line, because we do need that type of grinder type of like fourth liner, because we don't actually have a really lot of grinders in our lineup, or like a lot of physical players, I should say. We're more of like a skill-based team. We're not one of those that like punish you with the body. But Keegan Colasar, even though he's wanting $2.325 million, he's listed as a fourth liner, and he's got that physical attributes and stuff like that. And he might fit all of our forward lines, so I think he would be like kind of like the perfect option for our fourth line. So we'll just give him a 1-year deal. And yeah, I don't really care if he's asking for a good amount of money. It's more just to see if we have a more defensive fourth line, if that actually would help out our team. And I think that's still like a kind of a contract that we could trade away if for some reason it's not working out the way we ever expected. So, or we have expected. So now we need also some depth two-way forwards, or fourth line two-way forwards. We should probably look for a two-way forward at center, not a grinder. I don't really want to have more than one grinder on that fourth line, just because or else we might take 200 penalty minutes. So I probably will get a fourth line center. That's like kind of a two-way forward. So maybe McLeod. Not great at face-offs, so I want somebody that could win face-offs. That's probably like the key thing when it comes to finding yourself a fourth liner, because winning face-offs is always crucial. Berggren, no, 62 only at face-offs. Jeez. Shane Pinto. Shane Pinto is probably the perfect option. Yeah, and he does fit our bottom six. So Shane Pinto, welcome to Chicago. Cheap deal as well. We'll go a little bit more, 1.8. And then we'll need one more player on the left-hand side. And then we'll have all our depth, or our fourth line options, I'd say. And it should be interesting to see what our lineup looks like going into next season once we get these guys signed up. This Hartnell guy is a two-way forward. He's 25. The UFA is 78 overall, so kind of similar to like Nugent Hopkins. Huh, interesting. Was drafted by Philadelphia. Did he play with Philly last season? He did. So he's coming off of a Stanley Cup win too. So that's actually kind of huge. 12 points in 24 playoff games for the youngster. Was shooting 31% too. God damn. Yeah, this guy looks pretty good. And since he's coming off a cup, why not? He's got the experience. He could help out some of the other young kids with some playoffs. And we could give him a 2-year deal as well. I don't mind giving these guys 2-year deals because at least I'd still be able to flip them probably with that type of, like, being a young kind of guy in a sense. So I think those are going to be all of our signings just because I don't want to make too much of them because why not? Might as well just make a couple of them and then, like, at least kind of grow from within our own system. So there is our signings. Let's advance a few days and see if all of those guys accept. And then we'll sum up to next season, and I think already. Actually, we do need to find an AHL head coach, so I will look for that as well. So Pinto, Colasar, Nugent Hopkins, Hartnell, and we're just waiting on Jari. And he accepts again. Perfect. And Kershev gets some morale from that because everybody likes Jari here in Chicago, apparently. So that's good. And he has anxiety for signing with his new team, but he was just with us last season, so I don't get that, but whatever. So we get everything we need. Let's take a look at what we have right now. We still have $10 million in cap space. Obviously, some of it's going to go to Datsuk, though. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Not bad. Ziska's probably going to be in the AHL. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once we get Datsuk back, he's going to be the top 6. But that's not too bad. That's not too bad. We might need one more depth forward, just in case. Because if I said we had 13, I don't want to end up using Ziska as a depth option already in the NHL. I'd rather him get an AHL season. So I will offer a contract to a depth option as well, just for 1 year. Somebody that's less like a 78. Doesn't have to be a super good player. That way they could be like a depth option with like Logan Stankoven. And then we'll find ourselves an AHL head coach. And then we'll sim up to next season, get our line set up, and then we'll simulate probably, I'd say, up to January the 1st. Like, I'd like to get a good chunk of the season started just to see what this team is like. So we could always just bring in this Crystal dude. He's a sniper. Why not? He was drafted 11th overall, though. He's, goddamn, 11th overall, and he's not really panned out, but he's got the offensive tools to be somewhat solid. So we're going to give him only a 1-year deal, though. So there you go. Give ourselves another depth option. And let's get ourselves that AHL head coach. If there's anybody that would help out our team a bit down there in Rockford. Got to find somebody with some good teaching if possible. A- teaching, A teaching, A+ teaching. Let's go. A+ teaching. That is Lance Beckett, who was the head coach of the Arizona Coyotes not too long ago. Interesting. So Lance Beckett, you are going to be our AHL head coach. Give you a little bit more money to accept that. There you go. And he should accept that. And then hopefully he could help teach our young guys down there. And hopefully we get a lot of good development. Because we get a lot of good development, we are going to be in business with this team being pretty deep, I'd say. So let's begin the sim up to next season. Beckett has accepted. Perfect. And there is Crystal as our other depth option. So our team is ready to go. I'm very excited to see what this new worked team is looking like. Because obviously it's going to be weird without Comesso there, but hopefully the team could play good in front of Pitton, and hopefully Pitton has a good rookie season, because if he could continue to develop, who knows, maybe he becomes our starting goaltender once we decide to actually let go of Jari and whatnot. That's actually funny. So Jocelyn, who we traded away at the draft, the Florida Panthers signed him to his ELC, which is great, but they're immediately trying to use him as trade bait because he's got trade value. And they're trying to get Brock Besser from me, which is funny, considering we just brought Brock Besser in last season. But he's in the last year of his deal, so I guess I understand why, but Still, that's kind of funny that Florida's immediately trying to flip Jocelyn. Maybe they didn't have a lot of value on their team, and then he had some value, so they're like, you know what? We're going to try and flip him right away. I mean, he's not going to pan out probably because that guy was like a 59-20, but I'm still glad that the AI actually decided to sign him because I wasn't actually planning to sign him at all myself, so it's good to see that an AI team would be willing to do that. I think we still have an RFA holding out that's an AHLer, which is weird because he shouldn't be holding out because he wanted over $1 million if Coco's still there. No, Coco actually accepted, okay. But what is it? Who was it? Yeah, it was Taro Coco. He's getting paid 1.115. I don't know why he's getting paid 115, but he's only 72, and for some reason he was demanding a one-way deal. That makes no sense. Oh, whatever. So there is that. Let's get our lines set up and see what we're working with for the 2030-31 season. So Vance on this side. We go with Nazar obviously down the middle because Nazar and Vance are always going to stay together. I could try Reki as the first liner, but I don't really know. He actually does fit the top line better. And Holtonen's around. Actually, Holtonen is a better fit for the second line, so that actually kind of makes sense. But Brock Besser, I don't think he should be all the way down there is the only thing. So he's got to go at least on the second line. Let's see, Reki. Besser is definitely a better fit for that top line. But Reki's a way better fit for the top line in general. Yeah, I think I might try Brock Besser with the second line for now. And then Little's up to an 81. That's actually pretty good. So we'll run with Bales and Little, and Kurashev is the third line center instead since he's got an 83 overall still. Stankoven and Kristall should be depth, so I got to put Pinto between the two right there. Put in Keegan Colasar. And then we also got to take Kristall out for, who was it? Oh, wow, Len Morris is up to an 81. You got to be joking me. We are getting so much growth in our system that it's very tough to... eventually, we're going to lose a lot of good players, I think, in this franchise mode. Lowry's already up to a 78. Potter's up to a 78. We'll call up Hartnell because he's the other option I wanted in the lineup. Nitamaki's up to a 77 as well. Like, we have a lot of good prospects, and eventually we're going to have to trade some of them away, too. Kind of do what, like, I guess the Ottawa Senators should be doing in real life, you know? Like, Kabanov's up to a 71 as well, and Ziska's in the system still. Like, this AHL team is stacked. We are playing a defenseman as a forward, which is a bit weird, but everybody on the forward core is 70-plus overall. And same with the defensive core. Like, this AHL team should hypothetically be winning a Calder Cup this season, based on how good it looks. That is a very good team down there. Hopefully they do our team justice. And let's put Hartnell in on this fourth line, and that should be good for at least the forward core. So Vance, Nazar, Reki, Besser, Pettersson, Holtonen, Bales, Kurashev, Little, and Colasar, Pinto, and Hartnell. Defensively, we got to take Nugent Hopkins out and put in our boy Len Morris. And that still says a -2, but I don't get it why it is a -2. Because, like, Len Morris is a right defenseman, but he shoots left. It's a bit weird. Chernak is kind of dropping off a bit, which is interesting. I think we're going to just keep the rest of this the same. It doesn't really matter about that -2. Pitten's up to an 81. What the heck? If these are all realistic growths, damn, our team is literally, like, deep both in the NHL and AHL in terms of, like, rich prospects. God damn. Let's see. Yeah, I think I could just run with whatever it has our lines like for the power play and stuff. Colasar on the power play, though, I do not like that. I don't care about these damn roll things, damn game. I've literally seen this the entire time. Let's take Colasar out. And maybe give Donovan Little some power play time. Why not? He's got the shooting categories. Might as well give him some power play time, right? What about our penalty kill? Bales and Pettersson +5. Nice. Pinto and Vance, not bad. And Kurashev and Besser, okay. Yeah, it's not bad. Not too bad at all. So there you go. Our team is set up and ready for the start of the 2030-31 season. I am very, very excited to start simulating this season just because it's always fun getting like young prospects into your system and them developing so well. Like we have so many good talent, much talent in the AHL. Like I'm very interested to see what also Rockford does this year, not just our NHL team. Because if our AHL team gets a lot of growth this season, a lot of those guys could be jumping easily into the NHL next season, like Lowry, Mackey, all those guys that we have unsigned still too. Like there is so much good prospects in this damn system. Like this might be one of the most built up teams I've had since Arizona. Obviously, we haven't won the Stanley Cups like Arizona has in NHL 22, but honestly, our team could end up being like that if our prospects continue to develop really well. We just need to find ways to win in the playoffs. So I'm very much hoping for a successful rookie season for Pitton, and hopefully we don't get too much regression from guys like Chernak and Jari. A little bit of a rough preseason, but I don't really care how bad the preseason is, because as long as we win during the regular season when it actually matters. So 2-5 in our 7 games in the preseason, and Ville Pettersson led the team. That's kind of a surprise. 6 points in 7 games. Kind of surprised that Vance didn't lead us, but it is what it is. Preseason doesn't matter, like I said. Let's get into simulating and see what this young and kind of like, it's kind of a good mix of veterans and young guys, so who knows what this team could do this year. Let's go to November the 1st and see how we do in our first month of action as we win our first game by a score of 6-3, and then Donald Little immediately gets injured with a mild concussion. At least he's not out too long term, but we'll just go replace player. And Eric Chernak was never injured. 7-6 win over the Islanders right there. Not too bad. So some good offense so far out of the gate, but not the best defensive play, it looks like. So we'll put Little back in, take Stankoven out. But yeah, I'm really hoping like Donovan Little getting some power play time. I think Bales is on the power play as well. Hopefully a lot of these younger guys like get a lot of chances to get some good development because of that. I have to stop the sim so I can actually see this damn calendar. Yeah, we're allowing a little bit too much goals here early on in the year, but we have a winning record so far, 6-3-1. That's a good sign. And holy shit, yo, Vance might be like literally like insane this year if he continues on this pace. Obviously, he could completely slow down, but in his first 10 games, dude is up to 11 goals in 15 points. He's over a goal a game. Do you think he continues like this all season long? Because if it does, that would be friggin' nuts. Like, I guess we'll find out when we get to, like, January the 1st if he's still continuing on this, like, torrential pace. But, oh my. Like, I think he's definitely going to hit 50 goals again this year. There's probably no question about it. But does he hit 60? Does he hit 70? Like, he's definitely got the capability to pull out a ton of goals. So, let's go another month and see where he's at that point. And yeah, we're still winning games and scoring goals. That's good. And Little's been injured again with a broken foot. Damn, this kid can't stay healthy. That's the only problem with him. I think he was injured last season as well at one point, so he missed a couple games. But yeah, that's not good. Let's put Stankoven back in, because why not? Yeah, this kid can't stay healthy, really. And he's been doing pretty well this year, actually. 8 points in 10 games. Like, I didn't really want to take a look at his player stats already, but yeah, he's actually producing quite well, but he just can't stay healthy. He actually played all 82 games last year, so never mind on that front. But yeah, this year so far, he's getting a little bit rocked around. But then again, it's because he's on the third line, so maybe he's against like 4 checkers on the other team. I don't really know. Let me stop the sim so I can actually see this stuff again. Ooh, we dropped 2 in a row. Don't really like that. Yeah, we're still a little bit inconsistent at this stage. Like, we're scoring a lot, but we're also giving up a lot. So, but that's what happens when you have a young team. It's kind of inexperienced, you know. So, it's funny that Sam Savoie just showed up because I actually went to the 67's Gatineau game last weekend, and Sam Savoie was playing for Gatineau. And that kid is definitely the type of player that has like a lot of confidence and stuff like that. He came out and during like the 3 stars did like the gritty, like it was kind of crazy. And also, like, he's kind of one of those players that I feel like he could easily get under your skin. So I think Chicago fans are really going to like that guy. It was not... Oh, it was Sam Savoie that was back. Ziska, and... Oh, yeah, we got to take out Clifford Schwartz because he's a defender. Wait, do we got all the right guys on the defensive core? Oh, I almost forgot about Yuri Ovechkin as well in our prospect pool. Like, this defensive core is nuts. This defensive core is nuts. I should put Kavanaugh in for a second just because Kavanaugh actually has low elite potential as well. So looks like Ziska's doing well, which is always a good sign. So there we go on that front. 7-3 win over San Jose is nice. Blomqvist on waivers. Interesting. This goalie actually has an X factor, but he has absolutely been terrible this season in the NHL. But he's on waivers. I don't really need to claim a goalie at the moment, I don't think, unless Pitton was doing really bad. But this goalie is interesting. So yeah, this goalie has been very weird. He's not that good at the NHL level. At least he was a few years ago. But, interesting. Like, I would claim another goalie, but we don't really need to run the three-headed goalie type of thing again that I did in my Draft to Glory. But, yeah, if I was still needing a backup goalie, like if for some reason Pitton's getting lit up, this would have been a good claim, but I'm not going to claim him just because I don't know how Pitton's doing at the moment. Let's just go replace player on that front. And we are 11-9-1, so it's not a great start record-wise, but our offense seems to be doing well. If Ville Pettersson's leading the team in points with 23 points in 21 games, like all of a sudden he's kind of turning it around. Because last season he broke out for 60-something points, and this year he's over point per game. Maybe it's because he's getting power play time. I don't really know. But we are in a wild card spot right now, which is a bit weird. But I mean, I don't really think it's a bad thing that we're kind of like losing a bunch of games too. Because if you're still one of those teams that just barely get into the playoffs, sometimes you could win a lot of games in the postseason. But as long as our offense and defense isn't doing astronomically bad, I'm okay with where we are at this stage. Hopefully by January 1st, though, we could have a better winning record, though. Because I don't like losing too much. Like, I'm okay with losing an okay amount, but not losing, like, 2 out of every 3 games, you know, that type of thing. Who was it that was out of the lineup? Oh, it was Janssen. Janssen was in for Schwartz. Oh, yeah, that's right. Good old Clifford. Clifford the big red dog, we could call him. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what all these AHL guys are going to be doing this season as well. Like, we'll definitely take a look at the AHL stats as well at the halfway point, just because they could be doing really well. Geez, that game almost looked like it crashed for a second. 7-2 win over Montreal. Yeah, we're scoring a lot of goals. If Vance isn't at 20 goals already, I will be surprised. Because with that start that he had, he has to be doing pretty well. Don't really care about Taro Coco, so I don't think he was in the lineup anyways. But yeah, we're definitely having trouble keeping the puck out of the net, it looks like to me, based on a lot of these games, because we win games badly, but we also lose games pretty badly. Eric Chernak has been injured with a neck strain. Let's just go replace player, but that really sucks. 7-5 loss there. Yeah, I think our goaltending is probably not doing too well again. It could be our defensive core, though. I don't really know what the problem is right now, but like, is it the -2 that we have that's making this issue happen? Because if it is, then we might have to part ways with somebody on this defensive core. I don't think that -2 should affect the team too much. Maybe it's because Jari's dropping. Could also be because of that. But I'm not too worried about it right now because we're winning a good amount of games as well. So, Recchi was never injured. Yeah, now we're starting to win a good amount of games. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, 21-14-1. That's a good start. It's much better than like the last few years. It's still a bit inconsistent like a few years ago, but we're definitely winning more than we're losing. We're probably scoring a lot of goals. It's just more about what the defensive play is like. And Asher Vance, I love this man. 29 goals in 36 games. I'm going to open up my calculator on my phone right now just so I could see what he's on pace for. Knowing people, though, they're already going to be able to figure that out easily, and I'm not going to be able to because I'm not a math genius. So 29 goals in... Wait a sec. 29 goals divided by 36 games. If he plays all 82 like he's done every single season, he's on pace for like 66 goals this year. So if he hits 66 goals this year, that would be pretty incredible. Don't know if he will, but that is a very good start for Asher Vance, as usual. Let's take a look at our team stats first so we can see what is the problems with our team, and then we'll take a look at our player stats. I'll also show you guys the trading block just in case there's anything that we could trade for, and then that'll be it for this episode because this episode's already pretty long, I think, at this stage. Could be wrong, but maybe it's around 30 plus minutes. So we are currently 12th best in the entire NHL. Goals for per game wise, we are the 3rd best offensive team in the NHL, only behind the Jets and the Toronto Maple Leafs, so that's pretty good. Goals against per game, though, on the other hand, doesn't look like it's a good stat. Yeah, we're kind of like just below mid-table in goals against, so definitely we need to work on our defensive play a bit. Power play percentage, #1 in the league, not a surprise. That's probably why our offense is so good. And penalty kill has been pretty bad. Yeah, so our penalty kill and our defensive play hasn't been good, but our offense has. 10-8-1 on home ice, 11-6 on the road, and 4 short-handed goals so far this season. Interesting. Let's take a look at those player stats so far. See who's doing what. So, yeah, Asher Vance has been great as usual. He's already got 160 shots on goal. God damn. And 12 power play goals, and he hasn't even played half the season. Already 1 short-handed goal. His face-off numbers are pretty good. I feel like I should try him at center sometime as like a full season. Already got 52 takeaways as well. Like, if I try him at center, he could end up being a Selke winner, I think, at some stage. So there is that. And then Ville Pettersson's breaking out this year as well. 39 points in 36 games. I told you guys that I wanted to trust this kid, and he's been definitely getting better. You can see each season he's been improving. His defense is also kind of improving. Like, he's not a huge offensive guy, but his numbers are getting much better. His face-off percentage is incredible this season, 59%. And his takeaway numbers are not that bad either. I don't think he's going to win the Selke just because of the takeaways, but his face-off percentage is elite. Nazar's been pretty good still. A little bit of a regression from last year, or maybe around the same pace, but he is a -8. That is a bit weird. Like, he's playing on the same line as Vance, so you think his plus-minus would be around the same, but it's much worse. But I do like Nazar still, but his defensive play is just not good, really. Khrushchev, 26 points in 36 games. Pretty good for him. This is, I think... Yeah, this is finally the last year of his contract that I gave him way back in, like, year 1, so... shout out to Khrushchev, who probably will leave the team at the end of the season, unless I want to keep him around just for the memes. Stankoven, 14 points, is pretty good as a depth option. And then even Shane Pinto's been pretty good as a 4th liner, 10 points and a +7. So that 4th line is definitely doing better defensively this year. Bale's 21 points, 14 goals already. He is definitely a solid goal scorer. I'll give him that. Because he did score, what was it, 20-something? Yeah, 23 goals last year. So, liking it from Brennan Bales. And then Brent Hartnell, who we just brought in from Philadelphia via free agency. Pretty solid, +3, 11 points, not bad. And then, yeah, Donald Little is, I guess, currently scratched. Did I accidentally not throw him back into the lineup? Or is he just back from injury now? I might not have thrown him back in the lineup, but he's got 8 points in 10 games, so I definitely need to get that kid back in. Yeah, I think I forgot to put him in. It says Stankoven. Recky's been decent as well, 27 points in even 0. Holtonen, 26 points. Holtonen's kind of regressing, which is kind of questionable with his values. So I feel like if Holtonen keeps on this regression path, he might be trade bait in a few years, depending on where we're at in terms of our team. Brock Besser, 23 points. Not too bad, but this might be his only year here, like full season. Kolesar, 10 points and a +10. Let's go. Good job, Keegan. Living up to that money I gave you for the season. Makar's been good, 26 points, but a -1. Korchinski, 23 points and a +14. He's been really good. Brunstrom's been good as well, 22 points and a -4, so 3 defenders with 20+ points. You love to see it. Chernak, 7 points, +13. Datsuk is a -6, and then Morris is a -4. Yeah, this top 6 pairing is, like, it's probably the chemistry that's doing this. Like, these guys are definitely solid defenders, but I don't know for how long, like, somebody like Datsuk is with this team because of the amount of prospects in the system and all that. But, yeah. Like, Nugent Hopkins has done a better job than some of these other guys, so, at least defensively. Jari hasn't been great, but Pitton has been better of the two. Jari does have 2 shutouts, but that save percentage is much worse. The goals against is a little bit worse, too. So, right now, Pitton's definitely the better of the two, which is kind of weird. But still, goaltending seems to be a little bit of an issue for this team. So there is that. Let me actually take a quick look at the entire league for a second. Who's leading the league in goals? Asher Vance by 4 goals. He's on pace to maybe win the Richard this year. Oh, I hope that's the case. That would be really great to see him win it. Okay, that's the only thing I really wanted to check about the NHL. Actually, I wanted to take a look at the AHL quickly, too. Sorry about that, guys. Don't want this episode being too long for use. But the AHL, Ziska's got 16 points. Not bad. It's always good to see. Kabanov's got 15 points, up to a 73. Love to see that. Who else do we have down here that's good? A lot of players. Pielmeyer, I think, is up to a 74 at 22. Not bad. Actually has some pretty good offensive awareness. Defensive prospect-wise, Potter's up to 16 points, up to a 78. Oh, man. It's like, who do we actually use on our defensive core in the future? Because we got Potter, we got Niedemaki, who is still, like, growing. He's a 77 now. We have also Schwartz, who's a 71. We have Ovechkin, who's a 76. We have Lowry, who's an 81. So, a question to you guys. Do we move somebody like Datsuk or something like that to improve our top 6 chemistry? Because Gordon Lowry is definitely NHL ready. He is definitely NHL ready. Like, we have so many abundance of defenders. Like, somebody on the defensive core has got to go eventually. And then, yeah, Patterson's been locked in the AHL. Donald's been pretty solid as well. Wait, what's Donald's overall? 77. Oh, man, we have way too many prospects. Like, I mean, that's not a problem to have, but still, goddamn. Okay, final thing, let's take a look at the trade block, just because this episode is definitely a little bit long. I apologize. I know some of you guys like long episodes. I mean, I do like making long episodes, but I know that you guys don't have the time and day to sit around for 40 minutes to an hour. But I really don't think we need to make trades. I feel like we just need to kind of work from within. Because we have so many good prospects. Like, we could call up Lowry, trade away maybe somebody on our defensive core for a pick. Because we could definitely benefit from getting picks for some of the prospects that we definitely won't be able to use. But other than that, don't really know what else to do with our team. Because we're off to a pretty good start. It's just more about finding ourselves defensively a bit. And I think having Lowry would probably help me a better defensive team because he's a good shutdown defender. So maybe moving out Datsuk, maybe, I wouldn't say moving out Len Morris, because Len Morris is definitely somebody I'd like to keep. But I think Datsuk being in low elite at 24 and he's being an 80 overall, he's also, I believe, close to being a pending UFA. Trading away him kind of makes sense. The only thing is then we'd have 2 left-handers on like the top 6, so we would have to probably rework our defensive core quite a bit this upcoming offseason just because like we'd probably let go of Chernak and all that stuff just to get young guys into the lineup, or we trade away these young guys. But I always like holding on to my prospects I draft just because I kind of feel attached to them when I draft them. So yeah, it's an interesting scenario we have with our team. Like, trade prospects for good players or keep those prospects and then bring them in into our lineup and let go of the veterans that we have, that type of thing. There is actually a good amount of good players on the block this year. Brady Tkachuk in Seattle, that's a bit weird. Yeah, there's actually a lot of really good players on the block this year. Don't know why, but every single team seems to be wanting to get rid of people. Anything else? Vegas has some players. But yeah, if you guys see anything that you want me to go after, let me know, because maybe I could make a trade for one of these players. But I honestly don't think it's really necessary just because of the amount of stuff we have in the minors. It's like, we're probably getting a lot of good growth too at the moment, right? Like, let me take a look at this already. AHL wise, yeah, Lowry's growing a lot, Kabanov's growing a lot. Like, it's kind of pointless to do anything, especially when we have like Corrado, for example, who's going to be coming to the NHL probably as early as next season. And then there's also the other guy we drafted. Where is he? He's probably all the way down here. He probably hasn't grown at all. Patterson? Not the goaltender, the other one. Yeah, this one. He hasn't grown at all so far, but regardless, we got way too much in the system almost, so it's kind of pointless to make trades. It's just good to grow from within, I think. But anyways, let me know what you guys think down below, and I will see you guys next time.